Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Good morning, good afternoon once again, race fans, and welcome to Across the Pond, live in America. We go in the round, and it's TGR Nation Grand the Series once again. I'm Alexa Marshall, joined this week by Sam Fitzpatrick, who will also be doing the camera shots in the background. It's Charlotte Motor Speedway in season number 3, 18 degrees, and it is a 1.54 mile track. We were talking just before this, Sam. It's the infield road course long variant, and you definitely were thinking about this circuit with a specific part of it as well.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously Charlotte is most known for its oval racing, and I was sort of expecting us to be using the longer oval circuit, but instead it's pretty much all the infield. The start-finish straight you can see there with the red line on the track map. That's where we go onto the pit straight, but in reverse, and then the rest of the circuit we go onto the pit lane, and then we do all the curves on the infield. So proper test for these Formula V cars, probably the best layout for these Formula V cars, but obviously we see a lot of slipstreaming in this series, but you can see it's all corners, and so this may be one of the trickier ones to overtake this season.
Maybe not draft, but in fact momentum. It's round number 6, and I do want to talk about this. Zach Rattray-White and Gianni Lutsu have been battling this entire season. It's really close between those two in the championship. So now that is the question as we look at this man, Thomas D. Fleming. He is seemingly a spanner in the works of both of the drivers, because when we went to Rudskogen, he would end up being the one to win that and get in between them. So possibly, is he going to be another factor tonight? He wasn't here last week, so they got a bit of respite, but perhaps another spanner for him to deal with.
Yeah, and that's what we absolutely want to see, because, I mean, since we've been covering this series on Apex Racing TV, we really have seen Lutsu and White really dominate whenever they have been able to attend the rounds. And so, yeah, this is cool to see other drivers get in amongst. I think Borges Rud as well from Norway is going to be a little bit of a threat, but, I mean, to be fair to White, 4.5 tenths of a second clear of the rest. Gianni is around, here he is, but he's only just joined the practice session, so that's why he's a little bit further down the order, but expect to see him right up the order when we start qualifying in 7 minutes' time.
Yeah, I mean, it's no surprise. Unfortunately, last season, Gianni couldn't come to as many rounds due to, of course, real-life racing can be prioritised over sim racing, but it seems like the schedule's cleared up a bit for him as the IRL racing enters its sort of off-season when we get to winter, unless, of course, it's Formula E. But it seems like he's been here quite a lot more, so that is going to put Zach under threat. Zach, the two-time champion in Season 1 and Season 2, but it's definitely looking a lot harder here. There is Gianna Luzzi going to go P number 4, currently on board with the Brazilian of Rodrigo Tostes. They've been pretty well this season as well. As you see in the bottom right of your screen, you were talking about this one, Sam, as well. We're using the pit lane as part of racing circuits, so if there is any incidents between these drivers, that's going to make it a whole lot more interesting, considering we've already seen a mirror free practice going and using the full length on the exit of turn number 1.
Yeah, and they use the full circuit everywhere, really. They can't use that grass, I think that would be a 1 exit and validate your qualifying time. But all this blue and white stuff, I think on the most part, is pretty allowed. At least it's very lenient because, of course, they sort of follow the NASCAR rules where off-tracks aren't really a thing. But yeah, just giving a demonstration on this lap with Tostes, just the layout that we use, of course, back onto the red and white stuff here, and then through the fast right. And then, of course, if you want to go to the oval, you would, keep your foot in and go to the, continue going straight pretty much there and go onto the oval. But instead we swing round and then back right again. I think even the NASCAR series now use this little extra hairpin. And then again, you can go onto the oval here if you swung left with a hairpin, but instead we go onto the pit straight but in reverse. And that was a decent lap there from Tostes. It's currently P7. I don't know if this is going to be an improvement. It is actually, but only by a few thousandths of a second, so he stays in his place.
And pulls over to the side and goes back to pit lane. Andrew James, Kurilla making his way around with another driver just behind him as well. So a little bit of tow probably being picked up, a few drivers in the pit lane. But looking at the timing tower on the left-hand side and on our screens, it's Zach Rattrey-White, Kurilla fastest in free practice with a 1 minute 23.231, as that is Thomas D. Fleming round. He sits P number 3, 123.732, 123.688 for Alex Borgstrud, with John Lutsu P number 4, Alan Degassis P5, Adrian Borowski P number 6, Rodrigo Tostes P7, Sully Khan P8, P9 for Christopher Cassiano, then Martin Visser in P number 10. But if we look at this one, Sam, like you said, Zach Rattrey-White is 4 tenths ahead here in free practice, but from P2 to P6, it really isn't that much of a split. Like, if you're using that white stuff and the blue stuff and the green stuff apart what is in the grass, you can really gain quite a lot of time. So it may just be the fact that some of these drivers aren't extending it as much as we do currently watch Alex Brubear Bradley making his way around the circuit. There is Neil Hanley, who's just going to go through the left-hander now and head onto the infield.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a very average driver myself, so whenever I do practice, I'm sort of ambling around now, and I might be, I know, a second and a half off the pace, and then I sort of jump into the warm-up session, and I'm hoping, when I'm that far off the pace, to see someone do something weird with the track limit, someone who is using a bit of the track that I didn't know was available. I mean, I recall Knock Hill is a little bit like that, where you can actually cut the curves much more than you think. I'm sure a lot of these drivers are jumping into this practice session, wondering why they're so slow, and then realizing, oh, hang on, there's half a second to be gained by taking this bit of circuit and not being aware of that. The depressing thing is when you're a second half off the pace and then you find yourself actually driving the exact same racing lines, and in which case you're completely dumbfounded as to where you're losing all the time. So hopefully these guys have figured it out and are in good position for the qualifying session. But it's looking pretty good for White, but let's see up to second and 3.5 tenths of a second off the pace now.
Yeah, and you were talking about Knock Hill. A big difference at this circuit compared to there is, apart from on the inside there, like we saw it, there's not as many sausage curbs that could send you into the errors. That is Andrew James, who's around for a moment, but Alex making his way around as James gets the car going again, most likely going to get the lap time in. At least his tyres are going to be up to temperature at the end of the lap. But now, this is the thing. We've seen already in this season what happens when these Formula Vs have come together. They can go airborne. You're not going to want to do that tonight. This first sector, there is sausage curves to worry about, but that second and third, there isn't really. So that track extension, we were talking about the corners. You want it, and there's not that much time for draft. I think you're going to be really wanting to carry the momentum and not spin it round like that.
Absolutely, yeah. He's not having the best lap of all time, actually, is Andrew. I wonder if he maybe overheated his tyres and was the reason for that secondary spin. But he's still going at it. Of course, they've still got another 10 minutes of qualifying. You can afford to spin a few times in qualifying, and it's all right. It's just when you get to the race where you don't want to be throwing in too many of those gifts to your rivals. As we watch Borgersrud coming out there at the moment. Of course, this is a bit of a street circuit, really, and there was news from iRacing yesterday about how a new street circuit will be added to the service soon, and I hope it will feature in the next season of TGR Nation, because Adelaide is coming up soon. I mean, to be fair, Miami as well is coming up soon, and that's sort of a street circuit. It's more of a car park circuit, but it is sort of a street circuit. But yeah, Adelaide, very much looking forward to that, and I think that'd be a nice circuit for all these cars if they do visit it.
You scared me for a second there, Sam. I thought you were about to say Monaco.
Oh, I mean, I'm still hoping for it. You know how much I want Monaco to come, but we'll see. As I think we've just got a message actually in chat from Andrew saying, I'm trying different things, that's why I keep spinning, lol. So fair enough, Andrew, and keep going at it. It's better to be over the limit and find where the limits are than be under it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're under the limit, you're not really going to be finding that many improvements, at least from my experience. iRacing is very different to ACC, I know that. Well, we were talking about trying different things. I wonder if that's going to be the same for this man, Sully Khan, because obviously you're here tonight, Sam, but from what we've seen from him the rest of this season, it seems to be the same story every race. First 10 minutes, he is usually pretty good, as well as in qualifying, but around that midway point, he ends up getting into an incident which puts him set in the midfield and can't really improve, and it's happened every single race this season. So is tonight where the curse is going to get broken? We are going to find out very soon, as qualifying is now green, green, green.
Yeah, and the drivers will go out by themselves, so you can see that they're all popping in and out whenever I change one of the drivers that we're watching. But yeah, I mean, it's tough when you get into a run of races like that and everything's going against you. In my experience, and maybe this, I don't want to be too harsh, because obviously I don't know the context for all the incidents that he's been in this season. But at some point you sort of do have to take responsibility for some of those incidents and realise maybe what's going wrong. Are you putting your car into a tricky position? Because obviously, so often you can be in incidents on, particularly on iRacing, when it comes to the questionable contact model, where you haven't done anything wrong. You put your car in a position, maybe someone squeezed you, and maybe you got unlucky with the contact model, and that could be the end of your competitive race. But obviously, if it happens enough time, you've got to make changes to that and make extra space when possible. So we'll see if maybe he makes that decision, or whether he keeps going for his guns. And yeah, this qualifying session, of course, will be significant as to whereabouts in the pack he is and how at risk of a lap point incident he is.
Yeah, you're allowed 3 qualifying runs around in this series, and it is brought to you by Lutsu Driver Performance and Sambo iRacing. If you want to improve your racecraft or even get a bit of experience in other cars and get even better, feel free to check them out. They will be able to let you know later on. But this is Alexander Borgersrud right now. He's coming around these final few corners. He's the man from Norway.
A few more corners, unfortunately. And it's a long lap. I didn't realise how long.
It's very off-throwing. It throws you off quite a bit with so many left-handers and right-handers.
Yeah, just keeps going, doesn't it? Here we go. To be fair, actually, maybe I was wrong. We're not actually that far away from the end of the zone, because we've got a right-hander here, and then we go down this short straight. Then we've got this chicane. Easy flap. Easy flap. And now we start the lap. So here we go for Borgersrud, and we'll ride on boards here, see how he does.
Right next to the driver, down into turn number 1. Nice hairpin, cold in the right-hander. Try and run it as wide as possible. Carry the momentum as you head out of it, through the pit lane, weirdly, and then down in towards the braking zone, into turn number 2. You never really change gear in these cars. 3 and 4 is where you're at. 1 and 2 are only used for the race start. And if you drop any lower than 3rd, your rear end is going to kick itself out, and around you go. Through the right-hander now, double right-hander, hitting these apexes. That is going to be the key thing they're going to want to do tonight, because, like again, we're into another right-hander. It is constant turning. It's apex to apex. So one wrong mistake and you're going to be losing quite a lot of time. Keeping it tight is Alexander Borgström at the moment through the next right-hander on this infield section. Avoid the sausage curb as Thomas Fleming goes to the top so far. 1 minute 1:23.951. But then Alan Degassis goes P2. And now through the left-hander again. A nice mix of nationalities here as Martin Visser goes P3. Goodwin goes P6. Alexander Borgström into the right-hander coming towards the end of the circuit as they continue around, and it's into the flat chicane. Keep it clean and keep it tidy. Avoid that curb on the inside, which is the sausage, and then now onto the start-finish line in reverse. Going to be going to the line for Alexander Borgström. Goes to the line and is going to be on the board, and it is going to be P2 at 1:23.977. Not that far behind Thomas D. Fleming.
Yeah, that looks good. I mean, there's so many different lines that you can take around this circuit, aren't there? Because with the fact that it's left and then right and then left and then right, you sort of risk compromising your run for the next corner by opening up the previous corner too much on the corner exit. So it really is one that you gotta think about a lot. Fleming's actually gone back to the pits after his lap. Most of the other drivers just continuing on their way. I think Zach White actually invalidated his first lap, but this is going to be his second lap. And although it's very slow, says he only got 1 more lap to go. So I think Zach's got to nail this one. So let's ride on board with him then, and yeah, see how he gets on, because there's quite a lot of pressure on this lap. I think this is his last attempt.
Yeah, it looks like it will be through the left hander now. A little bit wiggly on the steering wheel there. It was a story of last season. There was a few races similar to this actually, where the qualifying wasn't the best for Zach and he had to scythe his way through the field. He didn't really have a problem with it last season, but all these drivers have improved. A lot of them coming over from last season. So they know what the racecraft is with each other, and they know how to combat it as they head through the left-hander now on board with Zach Rattray-White for Eclipse Sim Sports. It's going to be Neil Hanley who goes P9, P1 for his competitor rival in the championship, Gianna Lutsu. Sully Khan goes P2, 1:23.625 is now the time to beat. You want to talk about close. They've already been locked in this championship fight, and they've already battled around this circuit so many times. Well, not this circuit, but around this championship so many times. It happens and it comes down to it. We're in the second half of qualifying now. If you're new to iRacing, you can see on the bottom of your screens the boxes. Purple means session fastest, green means personal improvement, and yellow means no improvement. Here comes Zach Rattray-White, gonna come to the line here at Charlotte, and where will he go here tonight? It's gonna be Paul, 1:23.530 by just under a tenth of a second.
Very nicely done. Degassis moves up into third position. We saw him have a little bit of a slide, and it seemed like he had to get out the dots on corner exits a couple of times. But he was very willing to use a lot of space, and he had a really nice, I don't even know what corner it is, but the sort of double left-hander midway around the lap. Had a really nice consistent turn through there. We saw a driver earlier on having to straighten up the wheel where he sort of turned it into one corner, which seemed very, very quick. Yeah, only just beats out Lutsu, who I think is going for a cool lap now, but I think he has still got 1 more lap available, so don't rule out the driver from Vatican City, Mark Schweening, as across the line. I think that's the end of his qualifying session as well, but yeah, very nice stuff from the Kiwi.
Nice and clean, but Gianni will definitely respond. Same with Thomas Fleming, actually, because we saw this happen at Roots-Kogan. You never know until it's over. As Zenkar goes P14 with an improvement. Rodrigo Tostes making his way around at the moment. 1 second slower as they try and get inside of that 1 second margin. Big Dog Babson is going to come to the line, and that's going to be them for the moment, making their way around that. Their best lap time is a 1:25.618. Hayden Cummings, 1:33.795 is their personal fastest. What will they get here? P19 at the moment to the line, and they are going to get a slight improvement. And they go into P18. There is Alex Boubert Bradley. He's been in the mid-pack this season, and he's going to stay there for now. P9, as there's Thomas Steve Fleming making his way around the circuit.
Yeah, let's check out what Gianni Lutsu is doing then on his lap, because this is going to be his last attempt and probably the only guy who can deny Zach White this pole position. I think that was just an improvement for Visser a moment ago to move up into 8th position. Gianni moves to here. We can't quite see the inputs on this angle, but we'll stick with it anyway because it gives us a slightly fresh view compared to what we've seen so far. And Gianni's first sector is a personal best. It's not the fastest of anyone, but he's right in play. Annoyingly, the final sector is only 10 seconds long, and I think it's just flat out, so the final sector gives you absolutely nothing. So the second sector is really going to be indicative of whether this is going to be a dangerous time. He just crosses it now, and it's a purple second sector. He could be right in the mix. Borowski crosses the line to go 3rd place, but I think this might be it. For Gianni Lutzu, he needs 1/10 of a second to go to pole. Borgersrud goes to pole for a moment, and Lutzu then eclipses him by 2/10 of a second.
Talk about an improvement. Borgersrud right there in the final moments as well, making his way through. We're in the final minute. You'll have the final few drivers coming to their lines now. Thomas D. Fleming, P number 7 at the moment. He was good in Ruzkogan. What about tonight? P number 7 on the board. Is there an improvement for him? It seems like it's not going to come across, so he's going to go for another lap. It was a 1:23.951, which was his personal improvement. 7/10 behind the leaders. But if he gets 2/10, that's him in the second row.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think the 10 minutes is going to stop the session. So once we get to 10 minutes, it's not going to be a complete lap. I don't think Big Dog is going to be able to either. Now, I'm not sure if Big Dog Babson is his real name, and I'd be a little bit skeptical. But then in IndyCar, we have got Stingray Bob, and I was like, that's not his real name, is it? And it is his real name. So if someone can be called Stingray, I wouldn't be surprised if Big Dog is called Big Dog as well.
Well, either way, it is interesting. We did have an IndyCar driver in earlier this season, but that was interesting for me and Adam at the time. But that's going to be it for qualifying, and we'll get the grid order in just a moment. Sam, this is your first one this season. I'll let you take us through this grid order.
Wonderful stuff. Gianni Lutzu on pole position, then followed by Alexander Borgersrud in 2nd position. Then it is Zach White, Adrian Borowski, Alan Degassis, Sully Khan, Thomas Fleming, Rodrigo Tostes, Martin Visser. Then it is the Todd father, Christopher Cassiane, Alex Buber Bradley in 12th place. Then it is Mark Schweening, Daniel Taylor, Neil Hanley, Scott Brooks, Zen Carr, Andrew James, Big Dog Babson, Matthias Marin, Hayden Cummings, and Michael Goodwin. And that is our grid. Good to see a healthy field, even this late on in the season. Round of track as well. Now, whilst everyone owns, this is a free content, obviously. However, not a lot of experience, so good that everyone's turned up today.
Yeah, we are just waiting for this now. Few drivers yet to get on the grid. Turn 1 is definitely going to be interesting. That wheel looks like it's jittering about a little bit.
Yeah, he needs to turn his force feedback down, I feel like, a little bit, Mark. I mean, his hand's going to be an absolute mess by the end of this race.
Yeah, I feel sorry for the wrists in that moment. But there is no gantry here. You can only see the marshal up in the top left. No, we're not related. As we go, once again, everybody looking on the grid. Matthias Marin further down here on the grid order. A little bit lower from where he's usually been this season. How different will it be? As we wait for green at the right-hander, it will be a hairpin for turn number 1. All eyes will go to the marshal up in the booth. It goes for here at the Charlotte on the infield. It is. Green flag drops and we are racing. That is going to be a very, very good start for Lutzu. Already going to get the momentum down in turn number 1. Nice and tidy through the drivers as it looks like they're going to go. Not that much speed can be picked up, but it's momentum all the way through into the pit road and then into the left-hander. This is where the interesting part's going to come into effect because the tyres spew out a little bit down into towards the braking zone, in towards the left-hander. Going single file. Want to keep it nice and clean between each other as you go further and deeper into this section of the circuit. Into the right hander now, but it's going to be nice and tidy. Everybody's got through nice and clean, and we're watching Todd Farber as they make their way through 2 positions up. So since this race start, as they continue through into the windy parts of this circuit, as it is quite a few drivers up and down. 2 positions gained for Todd Farber, but now around the outside, Christopher Cassiano is going to lose a position here, but now he's going to be right alongside, trying to make his way through. Michael Schweening is going to be right behind him. I mean, Mark.
Yeah, I thought someone had a really bad start, like Degassis or someone, like barely got off the line, but there was no changes really in the top 5 positions, so actually it was fine. Yeah, Fleming, of course, getting ahead of Khan, and like you said, the Toddfather up a couple of places as well. And then Cummings with a little bit of a setback there. I'm not sure if that's a collision. I'm not quite sure. But yeah, he is now quite adrift from the rest of the pack. But Gianni with a good lead, and of course, unusually, he might actually be able to break the draft today because there are so many corners. But Borgerswood looks pretty quick, but you'll be pleased to already build a 3/4 of a second advantage.
Always want to gain an advantage, as you also see in the background. Thomas D. Fleming on the back of the Gassis, 2/10 at the moment. Is that going to be the closest gap at the moment? He's right up the chuff as you head through the left-hander, looking at that gearbox, trying to get past, as you got Zenkar getting past Brooks, Schweening losing out to Taylor, Bradley getting past Taylor, as that's going to be down the inside by Thomas Fleming. Absolutely lovely move by the Brit, and that is going to get him up into P number 5. The charge is on now for Thomas D. Fleming. Alan de Gassis now losing out on 1 position down since the start. Christopher Cassiano up 1 as he's got Martin Visser just behind him. As in the midfield fight, it does seem like that Martin Visser and Christopher Cassiano are usually battling each other. Happened at Roots Kogan, so we're going to see it again tonight. It definitely seems like it.
He's got quite a queue behind him now, does Cassiano, but I think he's got the ability to pull away from a fair few of these drivers behind. But yeah, this one goes all the way back to Andrew James back in 18th position. But yeah, I'm impressed by the drivers. I know that might be undone later on in the event, but very clean lap 1 of the race as Martin Visser is now alongside. And that's not the place that you want to be going alongside. They just about managed to get their way through, but the curb on the inside there and then the wall on the outside can be so threatening. And yeah, Visser ahead of Bradley, ahead of Taylor.
Nice and clean. Like you said, a train starting to form. It seems like the back half of the grid is behind Cassiano as they are really all over the place. It's like a swarm of bees here tonight as they continue and trying to get right on the rear end. Visser is defending this in the moment though, as Cassiano's been given an opportunity. He's been given a bit of respite, and now down the inside is going to go Boo Bear Bradley. Going to put the wheels alongside, and he's going to be entitled to the space. Wheel to wheel through the double right-hander. He's going to go a little bit wider as Visser. Bradley's going to take advantage onto the inside, and he's got that move done. It's Daniel Taylor now on the background of Visser, and he's going to be looking for the move. James getting past Brooks a little bit further back, so the Brit taking over the Canadian.
Yeah, nice move there. And yeah, I don't think Visser did a whole lot wrong. Maybe he had his momentum slightly scuppered from the side-by-side action they had at the chicane at the end of the previous lap. And now, yeah, Daniel Taylor looks pretty likely to be able to pull off this move as well. Where can he get it done? We haven't seen any moves, I think, into this right-hander quite yet in this race. Probably best bet is going to be turn 1 because you can go flat out all the way through this next section. And look at the alternative line there for Taylor, maybe a little bit later on the throttle, but now he can really dip in. And into the pits comes Martin Visser. Interesting. So I'm not sure if he had... He didn't... Did he? Oh, he did have a black flag.
No, that's a black flag for putting. What? Like, because you don't get a black flag that quickly, so I think he just went straight on. Because even if you wanted to get on the into the pit lane, you'd have to go from the other end. So that's straight on. Or
so that is definitely the pit lane
weird.
Entry, and then. Maybe he yeah, I think he just sped, I think. And now he's got a penalty for it. That's what the black flag is for, because, yeah, he's being held for a while. So he's still in there as Visser, taking tyres as well. So I'm not sure why he needed to take that pit stop. As Fleming has got past Burovski. Fleming, absolutely a man on a mission. And he's 2.4 seconds off the lead. And, well, let's check out how he managed to get it done.
Let's watch it. I'm getting deja vu to Roots Kogan earlier on this season, as this is exactly what happened. Started a little bit further back, and now he's siphoning his way through. This is the overtake. It's Thomas D. Fleming on the back of Adrian Borowski, and it looks like hopping into the toe, goes to the right hand side, and just uses the momentum a lot tighter on the curb, covers it off on the exit, and that is just a nice, clean move done. Classic racing at its finest.
Yeah, it's almost on the corner exits, isn't it? It's about getting on the power a bit earlier than your rival and taking a tighter line. That's the way that you pull off moves. It's not really necessarily under braking, it seems. So nice work there from Fleming. And yeah, does he have the pace now to catch up to Lutzu? Because I think these front guys are going to be pretty smart about this. I'm not familiar with Borgersrud personally, but Lutzu and Zach White have got plenty of experience. They do like having a lot of fun as well in this series. Like, they do like to spar against one another. It's not the most serious series that they're part of. So they might battle a little bit just for a bit of fun. But I think they will probably likely just leave it till the last few laps and then decide then. Certainly they're close though, and Lutzu unable to break the draft.
Yeah, unable to break the draft at the moment. They have said in interviews earlier this season that they are just happy to race each other around these and in these cars. They are a good group of people who go racing around in this series. Neil Hanley right now with Zencar just behind them, and they are making their way towards the end part of the circuit as we are on lap number 5. We're nearly at 10-minute mark. So the Lightning cars continuously, he is on the inside, but not close enough yet to get the move done. So that's going to sit where it is for the time being. Maybe turn number 1 and dive down the inside, and he moves to the right-hand side. Looks like he will try it, as Zencar is going to be up against Neil Hanley down the inside, wheel to wheel, and it's going to be a lot tighter for Zencar, who carries momentum, and he's going to open up a little bit of a gap as well. Lovely move. Turn 1, always a perfect opportunity for an overtake. Unless it's Monaco.
Yes, absolutely. Here is a move for Tostes on the Toddfather. And was this a mistake from the Toddfather? Goes a bit wide, but he had to get out of the throttle, otherwise he was heading towards the wall. And then Tostes opening up the line as much as possibly can, and not much of a defence being put up. So Rodrigo Tostes now up into P8.
Nice move between them, and that is racing once again. As Neil Hanley, we watch him again. 2 positions up since this start. As I will say this, 5 positions up is Zencar. He's doing some absolute gains tonight. Same with Thomas D. Fleming, 3 positions up. So we got quite a few gains, we got a few losses, majority, and it seems like it's stagnating a little bit at 1 gain, 1 loss. No surprise with this circuit. 13 positions down, unfortunately. Martin Visser, of course, with the black flag, and there are your gaps. It's definitely come down a little bit. It's 3 tenths now between Gianni Lutzu and Zach Rattray White, and they seem to be driving away a little bit from Borgersrud, but nope, he's starting to close it in again. So maybe the setup's slightly different, but other than that, they are nice and tight. It's 3 tenths, 2 tenths. It's getting real close between the top 2.
Yeah, White occasionally gets it down to 2 tenths, doesn't he? I think probably on the pit straight each lap, but is never quite close enough to go for the move on because he doesn't want to wipe these guys out. I'm sure if they did make contact, they would be very apologetic and probably wait for each other, and maybe that's what Borgersrud is hoping for. Fleming on that last lap, well, actually, we can look at the last laps on the timing tower. You can see how consistent they were. 23.7, or 23.6, 23.6, 23.7, 23.7. And then 23.8 for Borowski. So yeah, within a few hundredths of a second, the top 4 on that last lap. So Fleming is maintaining the gap, but he's struggling to catch up.
Yeah, maybe the fresh air just isn't really opening. Maybe he doesn't need that toe, especially on this part of the circuit, down towards turn number 1. As we look over the rear bumper, aka the gearbox in these Formula Vs. No wings, of course. It's just all down to mechanical grip and driver's skill at the end of the day in these cars. They are, realistically, these are more like road cars than actual Formula cars, as they are all over the place, and you've really got to hold them, as otherwise they will just spin on their axis. And you continue down, it's down to 1/10, but then once again it opens up into the corners. So sector 1 seems to be Zach Rattray White, but other than that, it's Gianni Lutzu.
Yeah, I think so. And you may have seen, just watching there was a couple of moments where it looked like Lutzu actually made contact with the wall, but you do have to take that with a grain of salt because iRacing isn't 100% reliable with that. It's sort of approximating where all the cars are. And so, yeah, anyone watching along and thinking, he's just skimmed 2 walls there. Chances are he didn't actually hit either wall. And, yeah, iRacing is just recording that on our side. But Gianni will know if he's hit the wall or not. And he knows that to play the margins fairly fine. as we see Tostes actually has got back past. Oh no, he did get past. Oh no, that is Cassiano.
Oh,
And
that is a big loss.
let's have a look at what happened to him.
Indeed, let's do it, because this is Cassiano coming through the right-hander, maybe just dirty air coming through the right-hander, and on top of the curb, and touch of the grass, round it goes, and that is classic racing, just lost on its own. These cars and the tyres never do really like grass, because from my experience, probably the same over here as well, Sam, you touch the grass, it's a bit more like ice.
Yeah, it is still pretty bad. I mean, it used to be so much worse on iRacing a few years ago, and old people like me will go on about how, you know, back in our day it was worse, and you young folks shouldn't complain about it, because, yeah, it used to be if you got anywhere near the grass, you were absolutely gone, whereas now it's a little bit more forgiving, at least as long as you're not driving in the wet. I think it gets pretty bad in that situation. But yeah, just running a little bit wide on that occasion, and that was enough to spin the car around. So yeah, lost a couple of places there, did Cassiano, didn't he? Lost out to Bradley and to Zen Car. Bradley's quite far ahead, so really, chance his best result is going to be a P11 now, as I think Neil Hanley and Daniel Taylor are alongside. And Taylor got ahead momentarily, then Hanley was able to come back, but Taylor's coming back himself again.
Yep, back and forth between these drivers. Brooks past James further back, and they are going back and forth between them as they are all over the place between these guys, and it is nice battles across the field. Daniel Taylor from Indonesia getting the move done. Andrew James from the UK also making their way around, but they've got Scott Brooks right behind them in the moment, and now it's on towards the main straight once again. You see this oval around this circuit, yet we hardly ever go on it, only about 50 metres like you said, Sam. But then again, this is probably, like you also said, best for the Formula V's, because if it was the oval, it would very much just be a draft race. It'll be more like NASCAR around an oval than it would be a classic Formula V race like we're able to watch right now.
Yeah, let's see if we get any viewing of the oval. You can just see it on the left there, but that's pretty much all we're going to get today when it comes to the oval. Yeah, I really like this circuit at night as well. It's actually quite a good night circuit that iRacing have modeled, but I don't think the infield is lit up. I think it's only the oval which has lights. So if you are just using the infield, then obviously that's not a very good idea. But yeah, I think this layout combined with the oval, so all the innards, all the infield plus the oval, it would be like a 2-minute lap. But at night, I think that'd be pretty cool. But you know, this is really making the drivers work hard in terms of just having barely any rest between the corners and having to work really hard to try to break the draft and to stay in the draft as well.
Well, the top three seem to be doing it pretty well at the moment. Thomas D. Fleming, you can see him there in the background, 2.5 behind Borgsrud as they continue now through right-hander. And he is slowly bringing himself in towards this. We're 30 seconds to halfway, as in the background, this is Alan Degassis and Sully Khan. Sully Khan had a pretty decent qualifying, I would say, and he stayed around the same place. In fact, he's only lost one position since the start, same with Alan Degassis. But as the smoke splutters out the rear end of the gearbox, I was about to say exhaust, no, it's the gearbox, because of how hot they can get around this circuit. It is going to be all to play for. I do wonder, because I know it happens in iRacing, unlike ACC. Could your visor get dirty from you?
Yeah, you can. However, there is a tear-off visor button that you can enable, and then you get unlimited tear-offs. So yeah, you can clear that whenever you want. It's a little bit worse in sports cars, really, because you can only obviously tear off the windshield sort of protective thing at the pit stop. So you know, if you're in an hour-long GT3 stint, then you're going to have to deal with that rubber for a while. But yeah, these guys can just tear off a visor every now and again, as long as they've mapped the button, because I don't think you can do it from your black box either. As Lutsu's under more pressure, and Zach White is officially in the lead. Has he necessarily got the better line though, because he's on the outside, and he's going to have to go the long way here. He can go all the way to the grass, remember. Lutzu gets his nose back ahead, but now it's White again, and this will be a right-hander which turns into a left-hander, and all this batsing is going to cost them a lot of time. Borgersrud not getting his nose in there yet, but Zach White has got past, but then back down the inside goes Lutzu. He gets the cut back, and still he has to afford space, but it really does look like the Kiwis got it done now.
Well, it all depends now. We went from 2.5 to 1.2. There he is in the background, and it's Johnny Lutzu and Zagratre White once again wheel to wheel for a moment, but they are really all over the place. Borgstrud trying to get a nose in there as well, and he is on the back of it now is Thomas D. Fleming. He is right then. Johnny is going to throw it down the inside, trying to get past Zagratre White again, and it's going to be the Vatican City driver who will take back the lead over the Kiwi. The Norwegian gets a front row seat to the action ahead, and we go down the main straight one more time. It's Borgsrud who tries to get into the toe, but it's going to be Wright who will move to the right hand side as into the right hander. I definitely think that was a bit of iRacing predicting where the cars were. I don't think he actually hit the barrier, but now Borgsrud side by side with Zach Rattray White for a second, but Zach pulls it just ahead, and now it really is Thomas D. Fleming on the back of the train. It is nose to gearbox from Gianna Lutzu with free astern.
Yeah, this is a poor battle now. Next one would be Burovsky, 4 seconds behind. And if these guys do keep on battling like this, he will be there because, oh no, they've made contact behind Fleming and Borgersrud. And Borgersrud has maybe got a black flag or something. I'm not quite sure. He's back to the pits at least. Yeah, I don't know if he got like DQ'd from the session for breaching the incident limit, but that is a massive shame right there. So Lutzu holds on to the lead, and Fleming is now in 3rd position. And let's find out what happens in this battle.
Yeah, this could be the battle. This is Fleming and Borgersrud, 16 positions down now. Fleming has got a good gain here. He's on the inside and he is going to go down the inside, but that is going to not be enough space. And classic Formula V collision in iRacing. Car flips itself over and into the barrier. No surprise there was a meatball and a tow back to the pits. Thankfully, this is iRacing and not real life, because the drivers, you do not want that to happen in real life. But this is on board with Alexander Borgstrud, and he is just going very wide. And oh, I definitely think that that was on Thomas D. Fleming.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Thomas realised it as well. He was almost silent, like that was almost ominous on board, where you can hear the engine alongside you and then go silent because Fleming's doing absolutely everything he possibly can to slow the car down in time, but was unable to. He's just got to get that out of his mind. I'm sure he'll feel guilty about it, but may as well just get the best result he can possibly get now. And Borgersrud, who had a very good chance at the race win, out of contention. But yeah, nothing that he did wrong on that occasion. That is the risk of battling at this stage of the race. Fleming is still going to keep attacking though, and he's got a pretty good line here against Zach White. They just need to make sure they don't drop out the draft of Lutzu. I think that should be good enough for that. And yeah, they still run 2nd and 3rd, White ahead of Fleming.
It's all to play for coming into us the final 10 minutes. It is going to be decided here tonight. We're on lap number 14 at the moment. We're going on to lap 15, around about the 20-minute mark. Alan Degassis not back to where he started. Todd Farber 3 positions up. Rodrigo Tostes is staying where he started. Alex Beer Bradley up 3, and Zenkar. Is Zenkar up 7? Oh, Zenkar is up 7, as this is once again the battle for the lead. Zach Rattray White and Gianni Lutzu, the Vatican and the Kiwi, fighting once again through the pit lane and trying not to hit the tyre barrier. All to play for. Thomas D. Fleming is going to be there. They're going to go into a triangle formation, and left-hander 3 abreast there now towards the braking zone. Is it going to back out of it? Thomas will, but now he's going to get the inside line up against Gianni Lutzu. Is Thomas going to be able to get into P number 2 for the first time this evening? Not at the moment, because Gianni was just about able to extend it to the grass and carry that momentum.
Yeah, not afraid to go for another big move there, Fleming, on the inside, which is well because he made contact before, but that has not put him off. That time he was able to keep the car much tighter and didn't cause, maybe there was a little bit of contact, but it certainly wasn't as detrimental as it was a few laps ago. So this is definitely a three-way battle, and yeah, if Fleming keeps driving like this, yeah, this is going to be they're going to do well to get to the end of the race, all of them, because they are coming extremely close to contact. But White with the drafts down the pit straight, able to get it done into T1 again, and now it's up to Lutzu to respond.
It is. It's a top 3 battle in these final 10 minutes. We've seen it happen so many times this season. It was a 5-car fight back at Roots-Kogan. We've still got a chance of it happening because Borowski and Degassis could catch up, but it's a 4-second gap at the moment. There is Alex Bradley, 3 positions up at the moment, as well as Zenkar, 7 positions up in the Lightning V. You see on the left-hand side the gains and losses. 16 lost for Borgstrad, 12 lost for Visser, and then the most gains will go to Zenkar with 7, and then Thomas Fleming with 4. Otherwise, it's staying about the same as Zenkar gets overtaken by Cassiano a little bit further back. But I will say this, it's pretty clean for Borowski, etc., because they have not lost many positions, as this is Cassiano, who was 2 positions up. There is Zenkar, and this is going to be the overtake, it seems. And it looks like Zenkar, yep, a little bit too wide, and Cassiano has more momentum, takes advantage. That's the move done, and there is Alex Bradley.
And unfortunately, Alex
now
has had
6
an
down
issue because he has come to his side of the circuit. What happened there? Did he hit like the inside wall or something and it caused his... Oh, no, I haven't. It's doing like straight to me.
Might have been a clip.
Sorry, I keep on...
Oh yeah, that's a hit.
Yeah, I keep on missing that, so we will get a proper thing of this.
That was definitely a hit. You could see it as...
There we go.
This is on board.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe got a meatball in that moment. But the actual steering looks alright, but sometimes iRacing tells you that it's a problem, even if it doesn't feel like a problem. And you have to respond to that. So that's a shame there, and that demonstrates just how easy it is to hit a wall around here.
Yeah, I mean, especially that one. I think out of all the walls you could possibly hit, that's the most awkward one. Like, instead of removing the tyre barrier and letting you use the full width, they decide we're going to thin the corner and make it even harder for you. As there is Zach Rattre White having to fend once again, as Gianni Lutzu is going to try to go around the outside, but now it's going to be on the inside for Thomas D. Fleming up against Lutzu. Triangle formation once again into the left-hander, but now Gianni's going to get the right-hander. It's all to play for here in the final 10 minutes, and there is lap traffic starting to get in the way. So how is that going to fare into this effect as Thomas D. Fleming gets in the P number 2 just before the final few?
Yeah, finally manages to break up that top 2. He's been sat in that P3 for quite a while, hasn't he? But now he's got a proper shot at Zach White ahead of him. 6 minutes to go. And I don't think that's going to have much of a defence. It's just where Thomas decides to go for the move. Of course, we've seen him pretty aggressive around this part of the circuit, but I think he's going to be a little bit too far back for a move at the right-hander.
Matthias Marin, I believe, just went straight into the barrier in the background. That was definitely interesting on the exit. Maybe a bit too hot into the left-hander. And here is Matthias Marin. This is what happened to him. You see the leaders there. We saw him in the background. This is the better angle. And going into the braking zone, it's just... Oh, it's lock-up. That's a lock-up on the front... Is it front right?
I think all
because
the
he went
tires.
straight in the barrier.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like he overshot it initially and then got halfway through and realised, uh-oh, I'm not going to make this. As something's happened here between Fleming and White while we were watching that. I didn't think that Fleming was close enough to go for a move here. But has he tapped here? Oh, no, so it was White who had a little bit of a slide. Fleming gone to the inside. Fleming through. And then is there a little bit of contact here, maybe? No. They certainly do separate out. Ah, there's the contact. And look at that. Tyre face to tyre face. And Zach White goes up into the sky. And I think he might have steering damage now because he's dropped a long way off these drivers.
That wasn't even tired. That wasn't even tired to tyre face. That was tired to suspension in that moment. Down the inside, it's going to go Thomas D. Fleming, just about avoiding the tyre barrier. It seems like it couldn't claim many tonight, but it's starting to claim quite a few in these final few minutes. We're in the final 5 here at TGR Nation Grand V Series. Hayden Cummings is the lapped car, who is right in between the Brit and the Vatican driver as they that got very close as Gianni Lutsu is going to go down the inside. I thought he was about to get hit by Cummings then, but now down the inside is Thomas D. Fleming one more time.
Yeah, it's gonna... I mean, White seems to be back on pace now, so he's 2 seconds behind. And if these guys keep battling, White will be back with them soon. And I'm sure Lutsu would quite like White to be back in play, because I think he probably feels a little bit bad about what happened earlier on. It was a bit unlucky, frankly, because it was just tyre face to tyre face. But White's car launched up into the air. Fleming holding on, but he's being put offline, and you can see White has got a back marker as Lutsu goes ever so wide. And Hayden Cummings is really a part of this because he's got half decent pace. Does Cummings seemingly he's able to keep up with these drivers, but he needs to make sure he doesn't involve himself too much.
Oh, if only you knew what happened at Oran Park, Sam.
Oh, dear.
Look, right now, what happened at Oran Park? Let's just say there was a lapped IndyCar driver who was battling with the leaders.
Aha, okay.
It was quite entertaining, and even the drivers loved it. So
it
definitely makes interesting. The drivers loved it. Like, we were talking to them after, they loved racing against trying to remember it. Louis James something. NXT IndyCar 2024 winner.
Okay, sure.
There we go. A little bit. Was that a lockup? I saw tyre smoke for a moment from Gianni Lutsu.
Yeah, it may have been. He was getting very close to the back of Fleming through that part of the circuit. And now the gap at 3:10. So White 1.3 seconds away now. We can probably compare the time delta to the car ahead for him. That's not very useful. Apologies. Let's reduce it to 4. Nope, sorry. Okay, we won't use that. But yeah, basically the gap has come down. It was as large as about 3 seconds a couple of laps ago. But it's down to just 1.2 seconds. And we are moving on to our penultimate lap of the race.
White flag will fly here at Charlotte, and it's between these two. Thomas D. Fleming, Gianni Lutsu. Zach may get it on the final. He's going to be an interesting factor in this. 6 positions up since the start is Thomas D. Fleming. He's only done 1 round so far at Rudskogen, and he would go on to win. Could he get it again? We're going to find out tonight. It is Thomas Fleming, followed by Gianni Lutsu, who's going to go down the inside. He wants that win, but Lutsu's going to say otherwise. Looking for the outside line. He needs those points. He sees in the background Zach Rattray White. He wants to get ahead of his championship rival, but now it's Thomas D. Fleming who is putting up an absolute stellar defence.
Yeah, we've still got 1 more lap to go after this one, so the drivers don't have to necessarily get in position, but you can see White is right with these drivers now, and he'll have a shot at them, but of course you've got to overtake 2 cars, which is very tricky because if you go for a move for second, then you risk bogging down and losing touch with the driver out in the lead. So I think Lutsu's probably in the best position here because he can line this one up through these next couple of corners, and he will have the draft heading onto the pit straight and the chicane, of course, as well, because it's all flat out. So here we go. Now the white flag will be being waved, and the gap is just over 0.2 of a second, but Lutsu can start to gain as they just split the difference between the walls there. Schweenen's got a black flag further back, but it's been forced to the outside now, has Gianni Lutsu. Fleming covering it off. Can Lutsu keep part of his car alongside? No, he can't, and that's good defence from Fleming.
It is the actual white flag flies now, like you said, Sam, as you now go towards the braking zone for the tyre barrier on the left. Ever so tight. Oh, contact between them. Gianni Lutsu is round on the final lap. That is going to bring an end to his battle. Right, Zach Rattray White saw that happen in front of him, and he takes the lead. But no, Thomas Fleming is going to be right there on the inside through the right-hander. Thomas D. Fleming is going to put on a defence here, and this is the final lap. Lutsu seemingly out of the picture. The Vatican driver falling down in the final moments. Contact there with Zach Rattray. Why you saw the car pop up a little bit momentarily. Through the left-hander, into the right. You look back to Rudskogen. Can he do it twice? It is now coming towards the end of this lap. A few more corners to go. On board with Zach here, trying to close that gap, but he goes onto the grass. Falling under the pressure, most likely, is a possibility. But it looks like, unless something happens in this final chicane, it's going to be the Brit who will come out atop the Kiwi and the Vatican driver. He won in Rudskogen. He will win in Charlotte. Thomas D. Fleming wins round number 6 at the Charlotte infield with Zach Rattray White, P number 2, and Gianni Lutsu, P number 3. Heartbreak for Lutsu after that massive hit into the barrier, what spun him round on the final lap.
Yeah, let's get a replay of it then. From the chopper. It's such a narrow corner, this. Really narrows up on the exit as well. Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure. Well, let's get another replay of it, shall we? I'm not sure what a better angle is.
It does look difficult, but going into the right-hander, he's entitled to the space.
Yeah, I think that's all fair there, because Lutsu is so far behind, and he sort of maybe maybe should have lifted off a little bit more so he could slot in behind. Yeah, I'm sure there won't be any hard feelings between the drivers. But yeah, Fleming, what a good performance that was. Of course, he did have that little bit of an instant earlier on as well, with one of his other rivals earlier on, but yeah, still a really good performance from him to be able to go from 7th on the grid up to the lead.
Indeed it is. We'll get the final classifications in just a moment. We're already getting some people in the interview room, so we'll get to them in just a moment. Cummings is making his way around, but you can see on the left-hand side, well, obviously the stewards will have a bit of work to do after the race, it seems, but Martin Visser in the pit lane still. So, Sam, whilst I look at who's in the interview room, do you want to take us through the final order?
Yes, I will happily do so. So, we have got, as I now show you the points, hopefully, here we go. Thomas Fleming at the top of the results in the end, ahead of Zach White by just over a second, but of course, it was much closer than that for the lead for the entirety of the race. Then we had Zach White, of course, in second place, Gianni Lutsu in third, Borowski, who had a little bit of a quiet P4 in the end, but he wasn't that far away. Degassis, who was a bit of a quiet one as well, along with Khan. Todd Father with a good run, and then Tostes, Carr, Cassiano, Taylor, Hanley, Brooks, James, Borgersrud, with that collision, obviously, with Fleming earlier on. Babson, Schweening, Cummings in 18th place, and we just got a few more. Visser, Marin, Bradley, and Goodwin.
Well, speaking of that, we don't have a Thomas D. Fleming, but let's get an interview with this man. Gianni Lutsu, you are live. My Discord had a moment. Gianni Lutsu, you are live on Apex Racing TV.
How are you guys? You alright?
Yeah, yes we are. The big question, which I'm sure many people will be asking, what was what happened on that final lap? Because obviously we saw it from a third person perspective, but from your perspective as the driver, what happened there?
Yeah, look, I mean, to be honest with you, I think this track was just awfully hard to pass. And in all honesty, for the race distance, I think the car just didn't really have any tyre left towards the end of the race. It was really hard to be able to sort of, get yourself into a sort of position to get a run. So I think, look, any opportunity you could take to kind of, capitalize on maybe the driver ahead getting a bit of a slower run, you could go for it. And look, I think saw the gap, went for it, and tried to maybe hanging around the outside. But yeah, I think I should have maybe thought a little bit wiser, knowing that I didn't really have the car that much up the outside there, and I was probably just going to get it fed to the wall, and did so in the end. So yeah, look, not not the best result. I mean, it's always a shame to not get the win, but unfortunately had a few back markers in the race as well, not doing their piece of getting out of the way, which made it a little bit frustrating. So yeah, some people need to go back and read the rule books clearly, but nonetheless was a good race nonetheless.
Yeah, well, P3 tonight, and you do get a chance to get back at it. Going into next week on the 22nd of November, we go to Okayama. Is personally one of my favourite circuits. What's the game plan looking like? Is there any practice already done for this circuit, etc.?
Look, I think for that track, I think the majority of us guys that have done the V in the past, we know it pretty well, and I think because of that, is not much really practice required. But I think the good thing is that you already have a good idea in your head of where the passing maneuvers are, or where you can set up moves and where you can kind of place your car in certain positions. So it helps out a lot in that sense. I guess this one today was one that was on the calendar a fair while ago, and I think it helped just a little bit in the knowledge of where to be and where not to be. There were a few new sections, like the new wall coming into 2 there, which didn't really allow you to open up the track as much as you really would have liked, but you just kind of adapted those ones on the fly. So look, same situation. I mean, we got pole tonight, so I think we did the best we could in that sense. In the race, I don't think it went exactly the way we wanted to, but look, that's racing sometimes, and in the end we had a good race. So in the end I think it was good nonetheless.
Oh, fair enough. We should see you at Okayama. Congratulations on the podium tonight. Although it could have been higher, we shall let you go.
Perfect, guys. Thank you so much. Have a good one.
And that was Gianna Lutsu. Sam, would you like to speak to Zach Rattray-White?
I'm never going to turn down the opportunity to speak to Zach. Zach joins us now. Congratulations, Zach. Second place. I imagine a little bit frustrating. However, of course, coming down to the last lap as it so often does.
Yeah, it was a bit more of a scrap than I thought it was going to be. I actually thought we were going to be doing the Roval layout, but loaded into the server, and it was a bit of a go-kart track. It was pretty racy. More racy than I thought, because most of these tracks you just go to in the draft tracks, and you just kind of just tuck behind the person in front of you and just, pot along and wait to the end of the race, and then you make your move and whatnot. But this one, it was a bit more of a how you actually had to push and work for the result.
Absolutely. I mean, we were chatting to Gianni just a second ago, and he was talking about the tyres. I mean, when you're driving this car, is there a whole lot you can do when it comes to preserving the tyres, or do you sort of just have to stick to your guns and just drive it as you normally would?
Yeah, there's not much you can do. You can kind of back up your entries a little bit and try and preserve them for the exit, because obviously there's not much body roll in these things. They as soon as you get on the power on the exits, they just plow the fronts and torch them. So especially with these long radius corners, there's 3 hairpins at this track. So the fronts were screaming. They didn't really want to work too well with me at the end of the race.
Well, it's really great to have a chat with you, as it always is. Zach, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, well, you guys for the broadcast as always. The top 3 for the tight race. It's a bit of a knuckle fest, but yeah, look forward to Okayama.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having a chat with us, Zach, and we'll see you back next time.
Thank you.
Zach White there, finishing in that position. And I think that's pretty much it for us, Alexa. We're out of time. But thank you for being so accommodating for me to jump into this one, and was a lot of fun. And hey, this Charlotte infield Roval circuit, at least in these cars, it's not too bad. We had a lot of good racing.
Yeah, I mean, it like Zach kind of said, it's a bit like a go-kart track with so many corners, and the front tyres were definitely not there. You see that little bump in the final lap for him. But, of course, like we said, we go next week to Okayama. I know I love that one, Sam. Going to the land of the rising sun, known and loved by many. But from us here at Apex Racing TV, I've been Alexa Marshall with Sam Fitzpatrick. Sam has also been bringing you all these amazing camera shots that you see tonight. This has been TGR Nation Grand V Season 3, Round number 6 at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Same place, same time. We'll see you next week. Good night.